3, 2, 1. Welcome back. I am home. Been home for a little while now from my trip to Scotland. And like all trips that you plan, even after months and months and months of plan, they don't always go as you planned. Now, I thoroughly enjoyed my trip. I did. I saw some amazing architecture, some amazing historical sites, amazing landscape, phenomenal light. Oh, it was awesome. The trip was just awesome. But I had envisioned taking a lot of B-roll with my DJI Pocket 2. That didn't happen. I envisioned taking a lot of sort of B-roll pictures to give a feel for where I was. That didn't happen. I had envisioned getting my tripod out, setting up for long exposures, maybe taking 30 or 45 minutes to compose a shot, recompose, take the long exposure shot, try different filters. Didn't happen. And so, but what I did come away with was a trip that I thoroughly enjoyed. So today I want to talk to you just a little bit. I think I'm going to divide my trip up into 3 videos. And so today's video is about Edinburgh, and then the next 2 videos will be about my trip to the Isle of Skye and back. But I had 3 shots that I had planned, and I was going to walk around and take some street photography, that kind of stuff. Didn't happen. But I had 3 locations that I had scouted out that I wanted to take some pictures. And one of those was St. Giles Cathedral. You can see that here in the Google Earth Studio video. It is a beautiful cathedral. It is where Queen Elizabeth laid in state for a short while after her death, before she was moved to London. I wouldn't say it is a beautiful cathedral inside. It's more of a quaint cathedral inside. Not as grandiose as I had expected. But what I wanted to do was get outside and try my hand at a long exposure urban photo along the lines of some of the things that Attilio Ruffo had done on his channel back in Milan and some other places. There's a statue out front of St. Giles. There are some street lights around, and my idea was to go around sunset when the street lights would come on, shoot at f/22 to get a starburst effect around there. And the long exposure would probably be 8 to 10 minutes, which means that all the people would disappear, and I would just be left with this empty picture of St. Giles Cathedral at night. That didn't happen. So I got there to kind of scout it out, and realized right off the bat, people park their freaking cars right in front of the cathedral. Look at this. Cars parked in front of the cathedral. There are no parking spaces there, people. This is a sidewalk. So I maneuvered around to try to figure out where I might be able to get, and I settled on sort of close to this composition. I was trying to get, I tried the other side of the cathedral to get separation between the cathedral and the statue, but then I was looking at the back of the statue, and that really just wasn't what I wanted. So I was trying to maneuver myself. I'm actually across the street on another sidewalk, trying to get the front of the statue and the cathedral, and I had a spot sort of mapped out where I thought it might work, and then it started raining. And because I had just got there and I had just took off to take a walk, and I chose a hotel purposefully close to St. Giles Cathedral, so that it would just be an easy walk there, easy walk back to the hotel. But because I just got there and I was tired, I had my raincoat, no problem. I forgot my umbrella, which I needed to hold over my camera. So with the rain coming, even a light rain, you can't do a 10-minute exposure in the rain and get all those water drops on your lens. So photo number 1 did not happen. When I got back from the Isle of Skye and I was wandering around, I thought, you know what, it's a beautiful day, sun's out. I need to check out my new case, ND filters anyway. So the second shot that I had envisioned was going to the promenade, Portobello Promenade. I had seen another photographer shoot pictures there on a YouTube video. And beautiful, sort of minimalist, long exposure with wooden pilings going out into the water. And I looked it up. Here is Google Earth Studio again. I looked it up on Google Earth. I found where this lady had been photographing. I took an Uber, wasn't cheap. I took an Uber over to that area, got out of the car. I thought, I've got some clouds in the sky. And even though it's sort of 11 o'clock, 11-ish, because I envisioned this to be a black and white photo anyway, the bright sunlight will just give me more contrast, not a big deal. I walk out onto the beach, and it is low tide. I did not bother to check the tide tables before I went. High tide wasn't going to be in for another 6 hours. And I was sort of looking, and I thought, well, maybe if I'm there for 2 or 3 hours, maybe the water will come in just enough that I can at least salvage something from this completely insane Uber charge I just paid. And so I went and had some lunch, you know, because you can never have too much food. I went to a place called the Beach House and had lunch. Very nice, quaint kind of cafe. And I had a quiche, one of the best quiche I've ever had in my life, so I highly recommend it. And then the water started to come in a little bit, and I was like, okay, so let me go out and see what I can do to kind of maybe set up, think about the composition. I've got about another hour, maybe an hour and a half, before the water's going to be up enough to really make this even worth trying. Get my camera set up, reach into my camera bag. I had left the case filters in my hotel room. That shot didn't happen. So I took another extremely expensive Uber back to my hotel. What I did get, however, was really the shot that I wanted. So out of those 3, I had one shot that I definitely wanted to get. And that was from the top of Calton Hill. Calton Hill sits at one end of what they call the Royal Mile, and at the other end of the Royal Mile is the Edinburgh Castle up on a hill. And so you've got the cityscape between you. And at sunrise, the light is behind you. The sun's rising behind you, coming out and giving a wash of light over the city and lighting up the clouds over Edinburgh Castle. And so that was the picture that I wanted to get. So I got up insanely early and took a walk. My hotel after the Isle of Skye, I purposefully chose because it was close to Calton Hill. I was trying to be as thoughtful as possible about where I'm going and what I'm doing and those kinds of things. So let me just take you for a minute to Calton Hill. I did some video there, and we'll look at that and the image that I got, and then we'll come back and we'll finish our little talk about what did and did not happen in Edinburgh.
So I'm up here on top of Calton Hill, and let me just tell you, this early in the morning, that's quite a hike. I'll have to look at my my phone to see just how many stairs I've climbed, and I do apologize if the focus is going in and out. Every time I turn my head, the camera thinks it has to find me again, so I'll try not to turn my head much. Let me turn my camera around real quick. So this is the view that I have. I've got this little portico over here in the frame. I've got the clock tower in the frame. There is over here on the left, there is a crane sticking up with a red light on top. I'm not sure how much, if any, of that I'm actually getting in the picture. And off to the right of the clock tower over here, there are 3 red lights on top of radio towers that I will have to clone out. I'm sure they're very distracting. But I've looked at 2 or 3 locations here for compositions, and I kind of like this one the best, since I am trying to get this before the lights go out in the city. That seems like a really good song title. Anyway, so what I think I'm going to do right now, I've thought about taking this at f8. I think I'm going to bump that up to f22, and at least for a couple of shots, to see if I can get any starburst in the lights. It's going to give me a really long shutter speed, so I've got to wait till the sun comes up a little more. Right now at f8, at ISO 100, my shutter speed is more than 30 seconds, and I'm not really looking for that. I didn't bring my intervalometer to go into bulb mode, so I'm going to wait till the sun comes up just a little bit. One of the things that I've got in my favor here, other than the fact that it's just really a light mist, it's not really rain as such, is right over that clock tower I have the moon. And the moon is sort of shining a little bit of light down through the clouds and making that making them shine just a little bit, even if the sun doesn't come up much to give me much light there. I would walk over and show you the opposite view toward where the sun is supposedly going to come up, but the wind is pretty strong right here, and I don't want to let go of my tripod. So there you go. We'll wait a little bit for the sun to come up a little more. We'll take a few shots. We'll see what we got. All right, I've got about 25 minutes until sunrise proper, but the sky is starting to brighten up enough. I just took a shot at f8. It was a 30-second exposure. So let's look at it real quick. Now, you'll notice that I have a shower cap over my camera. This is a little trick I learned from watching a UK photographer, and it turned out really nicely. So I'm going to pull this picture up, I think. Hang on a second. I think I am. There we go. Let's see if I can get this in here. So that turned out really nice and sharp. I have no problem with that image right there. And if that's the only image I come away with, I will be very happy today. All right, well, it's starting to rain a little more in earnest now for just a little bit, so I'm going to put everything away here just shortly, but I do have 1 or 2 shots back here behind me that I want to try to get wide angle, if I can get it without getting too much water on my lens. We'll see. Other than that, it's about time to go find some coffee.
So, like I said in the video from Calton Hill, if that was the only image I came home with from Scotland, if that was the only one I got to take, I was very happy with the photography of my trip. I love that image. Now, the final image, I did have to Photoshop out a crane, did the best I could. I'm not really great at that stuff. Sort of straighten the lines up a little bit. But overall, I was, obviously on another day, maybe the sky would have had more color in it, but because it was raining on this particular morning, or sort of misting, the color just wasn't going to happen. But I was very happy with the moodiness of that shot. Now, Calton Hill is, it's located right in the middle of old Edinburgh. And they call it the Royal Mile because it's just a little longer than a regular mile. It's like 1.1 miles. So because it's bigger and grander, it's the Royal Mile. Calton Hill has this little piece of sort of the Parthenon, I think, maybe the Acropolis. I don't remember what it is they were trying to build, but Edinburgh was the seat of knowledge in the UK, thanks in large part to people like John Knox and some others who emphasized literacy and those things. So the universities of Edinburgh were putting out humongously intellectual people. More so even than London or Cambridge or Oxford at the time. And so their idea was to build this monument to ancient Greece. And this is as far as they got before they ran out of money. Governments just haven't changed that much over time. So anyway, if you've never been to Edinburgh, which I had not, I used to live a couple of hours from there for about 6 months, and I never made the trip. But if you've never been to Edinburgh, it is absolutely a gorgeous place to go. So rich with history, excellent food everywhere you turn, haggis at every meal. I mean, it's just wonderful. So I hope you've enjoyed this little trip with me. The next couple of videos that come out over the next couple of Saturdays will be the trip through Glencoe and into Fort William and on into the Isle of Skye and back again. We'll see how all that goes. So thanks for watching. Oh, by the way, if you've watched this far, this is a test to see who watches till the end of my videos. If you've watched this far, I never know with this microphone whether I want to turn it this way so that the bulk of the microphone is hidden in my shirt, or, see if I can do this without making too much noise, or if I should turn it this way where the road logo is showing and the little blue lights are flashing. In the comments, tell me which way you prefer so I know what to do in future videos. Now we'll see who's really watching. We'll see you next week.